what are some examples of password managers you would recommend, and what if the account gets breached? That's a good question. The answer is going to be mixed here. Cisco does not, that I'm aware of. Now, Cisco is very busy acquiring very good companies and integrating them into their portfolio, including Duo, being one of the most recent ones. I don't know to date if there's a password manager that they have on their sites, and so I'm really not at liberty to give a recommendation on what a password manager, a good password manager is. I recommend doing your homework and finding something out there that you think is, that you see is very popular. It to me has to be part of multi-factor authentication. It has to be a requirement for it to get into it. There are some that manage it in the cloud, which is handy because then you have it on your laptop and on your phone. It may be integrated with the phone as well, so if they keep those in the database, but you are trusting them with your credentials, so make sure you pick a reputable company. And what if that account gets breached? If it were me, I'd get busy. I'd be opening up my password manager and changing every single one of my passwords. I'd block out 3 hours and go through the very annoying process of changing all of those passwords and testing every one before you move on. Yeah, I mean, Wolf, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I'd add a couple of things. One, think about how passwords get breached. Passwords get breached generally because they're downloaded off someone's website in the clear, and then people have reused them. Very rarely anymore do people brute force, especially if you have a significantly long, like my master password is 32 characters plus. At that point in time, the chance of doing brute force in that is very low. I don't reuse that anymore, so the chances of getting and exposed is very low. It is a risk, though. So something to keep in mind. The other thing to consider is there are two main ways that organizations today are doing password management. They are either using more of the user-facing tools, such as the tools that you can download right now and try and use in your own environment. Or there are also enterprise-grade tools from organizations like CyberArk and Thycotic and Centrify and others that are focused in on doing password management predominantly for privileged access, for DevOps, for systems. So as you're thinking about credentialing and protecting those credentials, you also need to think about what's your primary use case. Is it enabling our end users, which is where most of us start? Fantastic. Look at those end user and consumer space apps. If it is more the DevOps and IT ops use cases, I would encourage you to look at some of the enterprise vaulting tools.
Yeah, agreed. Now, if we move more towards passwordless and that gets more adopted, there'll be less reliance on password managers, right? So
yes.
Especially single sign-on and passwordless, those together, I think people can handle remembering their, say, Active Directory password. So if you only have to remember one or two, even if it's a long phrase, that's not so bad. It's when you have to remember a lot of them and they change, that's the problem.
Yeah, indeed. But the password side, yeah, I want to cover the password side, then we'll get to the next question. So the way that would work is, if you think about it, is you go to your SSO page and you'd authenticate with a fingerprint or face print, as was already mentioned. That would also take into account device health and device identity at that point. So it is truly you on your device. You authenticate to your SSO page, all your apps come up. So there's no password. When those interactions to the individual apps are going on, because it's through SSL and federated, that means also none of those sites have passwords. So there's no shared secret between you and Salesforce or you and whatever other apps you're using, Workday, whatever they are. There's no shared secrets there, which means if any of those has an issue, and let's face it, organizations have issues with security too regularly. There's nothing to leak. There's nothing to cause damage to your own personal or organizational security posture. So I really like that in terms of usability. And I really like that in terms of the downstream security properties.